Welcome to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur. My name is Rita Perez. Hello. I've been a travel advisor for over 10 years and am navigating this winding road of entrepreneurship with you. I created this podcast because I wanted to share all the things I've learned from leaders both in and out of our industry that I really wish I would have known way back then. But alas, the important thing is I'm aware of them now, and I want you to be too. Ready for this week's show? Let's jump in. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. As I look at the time, it has already been 24 minutes since me and my current podcast guest have been talking because we could talk about different things specifically to business operations forever. You may know her, right? Forever. That's like a movie scene, I think.
Yes, from The Sandlot. Forever.
I digress. This might happen a couple times, but you may know her if you've been following me or in my world for a little bit. Prep for Wave Week happened at the beginning of November 2021, where we were talking about all the things that you should be preparing back then for wave season, which is hopefully starting any second now in the travel industry. So her name is Alicia Lozano. She is located in Texas, and she is a business operations strategist. Is that the right? Did I get your term right? Did I get your title right?
Consultant, close enough.
Consultant. Okay. All righty. So welcome to the podcast, Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yes. So how did you get started in business operations?
Oh my gosh. One day walking along the beach. No. On a cruise.
Really?
No.
Oh, I was like, what?
I know that would have been an awesome story. So I have been a side hustler for about 3 years and tried a couple of different businesses and really trying to just monetize my passion, whatever that was at the time. And so it kind of followed my personal development journey. And I just really wasn't successful at any of those businesses. And then I had just hit a wall in life, and I just felt like I didn't know what my next step was. And of course, the way that the universe works, I had an entrepreneur friend ask me, hey, like, I haven't really asked you to do anything in my business before. And she was a friend that had been there, like literally, I call her like my day zero. And she had seen all the side hustles and everything. And she's like, I really haven't asked you to do anything for me or my business because, you know, I know you're doing your own thing. You're trying to build like your life coaching business, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, but I need help with my SOPs. And I immediately jumped on the opportunity. But in my head, I said, what are SOPs? And so I, of course, I didn't want to do a bad job. So I started to watch YouTube videos. I was like Googling SOP, right? And that led me down the rabbit hole of like books like Traction, Systemology, those types of things. And so I started to like just educate myself. And then the real magic happened when I actually started to write my very first SOP. As silly as it sounds, I actually felt physically this energetic shift. And it was like, this is it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And I was still in corporate. And so at that moment, I just knew, I told my husband, like, I need to quit. It's time. Like, and so it was a, new business, but that was the, the journey there. And that was May, June, July. So 2 months later, I quit my corporate job and went full time as a business operations. I didn't call myself a business operations consultant at first. I didn't know what to call myself really, but it was an OBM moving to system strategist, moving to operations, business operations consultant.
Nice, nice. So what was your corporate life like? What position was your last position before you went full-time in business?
Yeah, so it was in HR. So I was a employee relations specialist, and
Okay.
yeah, so I handled like the harassment, discrimination, retaliation kind of stuff for a staffing agency for like 3 states. So it was
Okay.
a support for HR support for those offices and the
Mm.
contractors that we had. So yeah, crazy.
How that is so, because I don't think so my last position in corporate is I did a lot. My official title was scheduling labor analyst. I forget. No, I was the senior labor analyst, and I did a lot of scheduling for one of the local theme parks here.
Got it.
And it used to be in the finance division, and then we got moved to the HR division.
Okay.
So I got lots of like firsthand knowledge of the different departments. But I was even before that, I was a supervisor for food and beverage. And
Mhm.
I was the nasty supervisor that went into the offices to, whenever somebody got a suspension, I was the one going and attending those types of meetings to be like, they didn't do this, or they've been absent 5 days in a row, or whatever it
Yep.
was. So, yep, I've
Yep.
been on that side too.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Prior to that, like a while ago now, probably when I was in like 10 or 12 years ago now, my first kind of dip in management was a bank manager job. Can you imagine?
Oh,
Me as a
wow.
bank
That is
manager. Oh my God. I was like
opposite.
20 something. Not a good fit. And it was the first time I left corporate. I actually left to California, left that job to California, but yeah, I was on that side of the management side of like
Mm.
having to manage performance and like that kind of stuff, and that helped though get the HR job, but yeah, the managers in HR work hand in hand, so
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I know one of the things that we touched on a little bit, and one of the things that I've been trying to get a lot of travel business owners to realize is that there is a role that we do, and then there's a whole other like stack of roles when we are the business owner.
Mhm.
So, and like I can relate this to working in the theme park. So a theme park has the restaurant division, the ticketing division, the merchandise division. The last place I was at had a zoological division.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
can be a zoo manager, or you can be an HR manager, or you can be a food and beverage manager,
Mhm.
but you're not really in charge of seeing all of that. So I could be a travel advisor working for a company, or I
Yep.
can be a travel advisor that has my own business, and that's what I am. And on top of that, I'm also the marketing, the human resources, the financial person, all the different salesperson, all the different things, the visionary, strategy
Yep.
planner. That
Yep.
those are all the different operations that encompass owning any type of business, really. So
Yep.
can you talk to us a little bit about what, like when we say business operations, what does that mean, and what are the processes in there? That's a loaded
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, for sure. So I think um just to simplify it, because I feel like it can be overwhelming, you can get textbook, but business operations is really just how does your business operate?
Mm-hmm.
And that means anywhere from the time that somebody, becomes aware of you, like what's going on the website or your social, and how is that operating behind the scenes, all the way down to, how are you touching base with your customers and accepting referrals or nurturing them after they've offboarded. What are the action steps and how is that operating? So
Mm-hmm.
everything in between. So that's business operations, just how your business is operating on the back end, and what are the actions and the tools and the systems and those types of things um, that are going on to operate your business. to keep it moving. Like,
Mhm.
you got your tires, you got your carburetor, you got all these things that are operating the car. Same thing with your business. So when I think of operations, I break it down in just like in your business pillars. So
Mhm.
business
Oh,
pillars,
I
you
love
have
that.
your client experience, you have your finance and accounting pillar, you have your operations pillar, you have your team pillar, you have your sales pillar, you have your visibility and marketing pillar, your branding pillar, all of these things. And so when you isolate those and look at what are the processes or what are the systems in place to help those things happen or help
Mhm.
that branch of your business, that's operations.
Yeah. So when people first get started in their business, obviously not a lot of the business pillars kind of are at the forefront, because I know especially in the travel industry, you just want to sell travel and put trips together. So what would you say is like a typical chink in the chain when we're talking about operations? Like, what's maybe one of the first things that a business owner might realize is that, oh shoot, like this is not just the main thing that I wanted to be doing. There's a lot more encompassing here.
Yeah. So I would say a big pillar, like I think there's 6 kind of core pillars, but I think when you talk about it in the sense of what, from an awareness point, what is something that the business owner might say, oh crap, I probably need to be doing this and need a system around that, is marketing. So,
Oh, yeah.
typically a business owner, and you're talking about travel agents and transitioning into kind of that CEO role, they're doing the fulfillment, and that is a client experience, aka fulfillment. People call it different things, but that's a pillar of your business, and that's you can develop systems in there, but you're typically operating in that fulfillment stage when you first start out, right? You're
Mhm.
actually doing the work. You're onboarding your client and those types of things, but then you become aware, like, how am I gonna get more clients? And people
Right.
typically turn to marketing.
Mhm.
Secondary to marketing would be your sales processes.
Mhm.
So marketing includes like your social media, your email marketing, those types of things. It could include like podcasting and those types of things as well. And then sales, though, your sales pillar would include like lead generation, sales tracking.
Yes.
Are you in a Facebook group, and how often are you in a Facebook group, and what are you saying? Are there any canned emails to connection calls? We do a lot of connection calls. How are
Yes.
you connecting with people? How are you bringing people in to even become aware of you, to see your marketing, right?
Yeah.
And so that would be kind of secondary as far as like what I think a business owner would move from the fulfillment to marketing, and then that sales pillar.
Okay. Is that when you work with clients, do you see that as like the common threads, or are you seeing more like there's too much stuff and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now? Because that's kind of like what I've been seeing with the different clients I've been working with on the support side.
Yeah, for sure. I think yes, I think marketing is a huge pillar that with any client I step into, there's always improvement that they can make in their marketing, because they want to either be on more platforms, or they want to do a different type of marketing, those types of things. So that is definitely a common thread. But I also find that like everything needs to be touched. And I know that that's like, everything can be improved. For example, I've worked with someone who we looked at her financial processes. And because there
Okay.
wasn't a system in place to send out like a proposal, invoice, or contract together, and nothing tracking that, there was invoices that were outstanding, and there was no process to collect those invoices or to follow up with those invoices. So that was a huge focus. There was like, money out there, like,
Right.
that was owed to her. And because as a business owner, anyone can get in that pickle where you're just going. You're in that fulfillment stage. So,
Right.
that was important for that business owner. Sometimes business owners, you're ready to hire, and it's important to have an onboarding for your team and to set up a training.
Mm-hmm.
One of the business owners I worked with in January, she was onboarding her first virtual assistant. And she knew, when you write your job description, like, okay, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, et cetera, et cetera. But taking that and putting that into an onboarding system in a way that not only is it going to give them access and ease when they're coming onto your team and onboarding them into your culture, it's also setting up the training plan within that onboarding system, that a training plan that isn't overwhelming and those kinds of things. So that was important to her. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on where they're at and what their business goals are. I always say that the very first systems that you need to focus on are going to be based on what your goals are at the moment and how that what activities are you doing to reach those goals. That's where you start.
I like that, because that I'm thinking right now, a big goal of mine is obviously client attraction. Mm-hmm. So the systems that I need to have in place, as we talked a little bit earlier, and I think I've also mentioned to the audience before, one of my big goals is to get on 20 platforms, speaking platforms, whether it's podcasts or doing live videos. So I think kind of like going off of that, that's one of the systems that needs to be incorporated in that.
100%.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
You
like
need
where am I finding
what are your canned emails for pitches, right? First of all, where are you going to store your list of people that you want to pitch, and how are you going to manage where they're at in the process? So for example, if you have 100 people that you want to pitch, you're going to need to collect their, contact information. How can you make that more efficient for you versus like searching Google or searching Instagram or searching wherever you're going to go, putting that into a sheet. And then from there, okay, once you pitch somebody, how are you going to keep track of it? Are you going to highlight? Are you going to put them into your project management system? What if they ask you questions? What are you going to send them? And all of that, all of those different steps need to be put together and need to be prepared. So that way you're not spending hours trying to pitch people. And then what happens when you get a yes? Okay, they're going to ask you for your media kit, right? They're going to ask you for your headshot, for your bio. And is that in a place that you can go and grab really quickly? Or do you have that on your website, right? Where you can say, boom, here's my link, here's my media kit. I already know everybody's going to ask for this. Here are the podcasts that I've been on, blah, blah, blah. You already have that all set up. It's just a quick, like, here's everything you need, go grab it, Yes. And that makes it more efficient. So you can knock that out and get to your goal a lot quicker.
Yes. I love that you kind of like open the door for that, because I feel like the travel industry in many ways is kind of like stuck in the past in a little sense. And I say the past like 10 years, like I'm not saying like 40s, 50s. I'm talking even 10 years before like project management tools came about and customer relationship tools came about. And so a lot of travel advisors, and I cannot like preach about anybody else, because there's still a lot of things that I don't do in systems like I should be doing. But using Post-it notes, I mean, I love a good Post-it note. But the purpose of putting things on paper, like how do you send an email? Well, I first have to write it. I write it based off of this pillar that I have. This is the calendar that I've created. I schedule it out. I copy that article. I put it onto my blog post. I put it onto LinkedIn. Like those are all processes. How you book a client is a process. And those need to be mapped out, like you were saying, because when you start getting help or needing help and growing in your travel business, that saves you time and effort from having to train somebody. I mean, there's of course going to be little things that need to be trained on, but it's not, especially for travel advisors who are really cranking it out right now, because so many things are being lifted. You just don't have the time to be like, oh, you just have to press this button and that's how you send the email.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And I think too, the challenge is like when a business owner is in that when they don't have the capacity or the time, it's hard to pay attention to or prioritize documenting your processes or creating a process. But I will preach this until, I am blue in the face. Like, you have to slow down to speed up. And if that means not taking clients for a month, I know nobody wants to hear it, right? Hashtag unpopular opinion. But if that means, if that means that you have to, if it doesn't have to mean that, but in the sense, you have to make space to focus on your operations so you can get it rolling, whether that means that you need to get prepared and document for a team member that you're going to bring on, or whether that means that you just don't want to spend hours in your email communicating back and forth with your clients, right? You want to find an easier way, or maybe there's an FAQ sheet that you can create because you know that you keep getting the same questions and you're answering the same questions and you don't have a canned email for it and you're spending, time doing that, whatever it is for you, wherever you're churning your time and it's not worth it. That's reason enough to slow down.
Right.
And say, okay, we're going to slow down to speed up.
Yes. Yeah. I'm working with some friends who are personal chef clients on the support side. And so I'm doing a lot more in-depth things with them. And they're like, okay, now we need to move to the next thing. And I was like, hold up. Like, we don't even have it figured out, like how we're going to be working together. Like, when are you checking the CRM? When am I checking the CRM? Am I allowed to do this? And it was I asked, am I allowed to confirm clients on a certain date? No, only I'm allowed to. Okay, well, we need to know those. It's the simplest, littlest things that you probably have not thought about before that you need to create processes around for.
100%. Unless you have, unless you're aware and you stop and you either do it yourself or you have an outsider come in and break it down for you, it's hard to notice every single step in a process. It really is, because it is, especially, the CEOs that are starting, they started these businesses themselves or doing it themselves. Everything's in your brain. Everything is like, you're like, dude, I already know how to post something on social media. Like you go, like, they can explain it. Like, you go to Later, which is a social media scheduler, and you schedule it. Like, that's how you schedule it. That's how you post it. But to somebody else who may not be familiar with that tool, or like, and we talked a little bit about this, and I'll use the example, you get sick.
Yes.
And you need help. And whether you have a team or not, if you can't do something and your business has to operate, whether that means because you have clients on deck or whatever, like having those processes in that time, that's when you're really going to wish, like, dang, I should have had all of this laid out. It's not just, go to this tool and schedule it. Right. And so yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
5 cents.
Yeah. Ready to play bingo in your travel business? Did you even think you could play bingo in your travel business? The monthly bingo board is more than just having fun while working your business. It is a tool to help you stay focused and hold you accountable while taking the necessary actions to move your business forward. You can even enter to win special rewards when you achieve a bingo for the month. Join our travel bingo community by visiting the link in the show notes. We can't wait to cheer you on in success. Yeah, I am a big advocate too of bootstrapping, meaning do things on the apps or do as much as you can for as long as you can until like you no longer, or you're getting to like the borderline that you can no longer. And that meaning like invest in all the free stuff that you can and utilize the free until you have to move to the next level, which is a paid level. That also means like putting in as much automations before you have to hire somebody out. Because I know some people too, they just want to be the one man, one woman, one person show. and they don't want to hire anybody out.
Yep.
Which, and that's totally fine if you are, if that is what your goal is that you want a certain contained amount, which I know many people do, especially people who have retired from careers and they're doing this as a second career. Yep. They don't want to be taking that full-time work again. And that I was going to say, this is my primary career. I don't want to be taking on like, I worked crazy corporate. That's why I'm working for myself, even though it seems a little cuckoo right now. But kind of like segueing into the tech that we use to make everything easier and simpler. So what are you currently using to make your life simpler? Kind of like how's SOPs, which are standard operating procedures. And what do you use to kind of like, what happens when you even think like, oh, that's a process that I need to record? Where do you go? What do you do?
Yeah, awesome. So I want to back up a little bit and just touch on the solopreneur who does not want to hire a team. The reason for documenting SOPs still is that it can elevate your client experience with even just seeing, the process laid out and where it could be improved. So I just wanted to say that because I actually did do work for someone exactly like that who said, I'm not giving this to anyone, but I'm too close to it. I'm too close to see my process for my clients.
Yes.
And I just can tell that like I'm spending a little too much time and I don't want to figure out the tech. I'm like her rate is higher than figuring out that tech on her own. Like she is ready. Like she's like, I don't have time. This is not my zone of genius and I am not going to do that. So I just wanted to touch on that because that is a very true statement about the purpose of documenting your SOPs isn't always just to hand it off. It can also be to sell your business, by the way. It increases the value, but it's also to elevate your client experience as well to match the level of service that you're giving.
I love that you added that. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yes. And so the tech stack. So I'll talk about my personal tech stack, but I will say that first of all, if you're out there and you are searching for an all-in-one, here's some tough love. It's not out there. I promise.
Dun, dun, dun.
I have been behind the scenes with different all-in-ones, and some of them do 3 or 4 things really good. And the 5th or 6th and 7th thing that you need is not really good. And and that seems to be the theme for all of these all-in-ones. So what I'll say is that my tech stack is designed for my business. Your tech stack needs to be designed for your business, and it needs to be designed with intention first. And I'll give an example of a real life example of something that happened when it wasn't intentionally designed. So some of you also may be interested in tech and like to do the research and like operations about the latest chatbot or the latest, CRM or whatever it might be. And you go and you buy these lifetime deals. And you go and you buy different things to try, which isn't always a bad thing. But what the miss is, and what I commonly see as a big miss, is that there's no intention behind where that tool fits in your customer journey.
Yes. It's shiny object.
Yes, exactly. And so you're spending, $300 on this lifetime deal. Then you're investing in a CRM for a couple of months at $80 a month. And then, you're trying something else out and you're finding that you're hitting all of these walls and you're probably overwhelmed by now, or maybe you're just going to continue to keep going. 1, it's wasting your time, right? That's not your zone of genius. Let's move on. But 2, an easier way to do that is to, go through your customer journey and write that down and figure out like, what is the feeling that you want your customers to have at each touch point of your business? And then what is the tool that you need to support, like to cultivate that or support the actions that you're going to be taking in that particular step right? And
Yes.
once you have that outlined about like, oh, you know, here I might need a scheduler, and here I might need to somewhere to put a task, and here I might need a form, and here I might need, and so now you start to see, okay, I need a form, I need a scheduler, I need, but, and now you can say what tool out there is going to give me the form, scheduler, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, so I say that. So my tech stack personally is Dubsado, which is a CRM. But I don't use it as a CRM. I use it mainly for the workflows, but it is a CRM. And then I have ClickUp as my project management system. I use ClickUp as actually a CRM. I just feel like there's more capability and more like you can design it and tweak it to whatever you want in whatever information you want to track.
Yeah, that
There's
I
some
was
manual work. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say because in the travel industry, the equivalent to a Dubsado would be Travel Joy, which is something that I use. There's Travel E Solutions, Revolution Travel CRM, Planet Easy. There's a lot of different like travel specific, but I agree with you in that I feel like they have either limited or not the best capabilities to keep things on task for me as the travel advisor, but they do help me like send out reminders or things like that for my clients. So I can create a task list that sends them reminders. But for me to stay on track, like I just created, or I'm working on like fixing or tweaking a template that I created about how you book a client and the pre-planning and the post-planning and everything that goes on in there. And I don't think that no, I don't have confidence that can be done in a official CRM. I feel like it's more robust using a project management system like ClickUp.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And those are the types of things that will come up when you're doing your process map or you're looking at what type of things that you need to support. And so yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, ClickUp is my project management system. Everything goes into there in terms of like just task management. Like I said, I manage my CRM, those types of things. And then any templates too that I need, onboarding, offboarding stuff is housed in there. And then I also use ConvertKit for email management system.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that like, I think other email management systems are great too. So I'm not like super married to ConvertKit other than it's so beautiful. And I love it. And I love how easy it is to create a workflow and do a drip campaign and all of those things. But I think there's Active Campaign and other things out there like that that can do just as good. It's just not as pretty. And so that, and then I can't live without Google Drive. So I use I don't love Google Drive for the searchability function. So if you have a big team, I would look into a different if you have a big team and if you have a lot of IP kind of stuff, or a lot of media stuff too, like, I would say look into a different tool. There's one, I don't know if it's new on the market, but I just became aware of it, called like Air. And it's like, it's specifically made for marketers. It's, at least that's what it's marketed to marketers for. But that seems like a cool alternative. It has a good searchability function. But anyway, but I use Google Doc because it's, I don't have a large team or anything, and just using naming conventions in Google Doc, and I save that. And of course, Canva. I think Canva feels like the universal staple of like graphic design and all of that. So yeah, I think that's trying to think if I missed anything. I think that's like my main go-to tech stacks. Zapier.
Oh yes, that's
Zapier's a
matchmaker.
Yeah. Zapier is a matchmaker. It can do a lot of wonderful things. And it's pretty easy to get set up and understand. It also makes suggestions on different zaps you can use if you just want to get curious. Matchmaker means like if you want Dubsado to, like your CRM to talk to your project management system, it can probably be done in some way, shape, or form through Zapier. Zapier isn't the only matchmaker out there. I can't think of the other popular one right now.
I've heard of Integromat and Integrately, and I've tried one of those out because they're lower cost options compared to Zapier, however everybody says it.
Oh, and I got a funny story about that.
Oh, it's
Zapier. And it's Zapier because I said that on my live, or not live, it was a story, and I tagged Zapier, and they messaged me back and they said, "It's Zapier like happier."
I like that.
Yeah, so thank you, Zapier. Happier. So it is. Okay, that's the official. I got it from the source.
Good. Yeah, I had tried one of the other ones, and it was complicated. Like, especially with like me and tech, it needs to look visually pleasing for me to be able to use it, and it needs to be easy to use. Like, it needs to be dummy proof, like a preschooler, because I don't have the time to like learn totally something new. Like, if I can't put like, if this happens and this happens, you're not helping me out. You're making me do more work than what's necessary.
Yep.
And that's why I like Zapier.
Yeah. Zapier is awesome. But yeah, to your point, I think they charge on like actions, and those types of things. So if you've got a lot going on, it might be a little bit costly. But again, if you streamline and only have the tools and you do, a tech audit annually, and which is basically just looking at your tech and asking yourself a couple questions about, is this something that we're still using? What processes is this particular tech tied to? What's the cost? Is there a cheaper cost? Those types of things. You can keep your tech costs down if you consolidate and constantly just review. If you're a tech buyer. Well, AppSumo is dangerous. So if you don't know what AppSumo is, I'm hesitant to tell you, but it's these people that develop these like these things, apps, CRM, it doesn't
developers
matter. Yeah, it's just these like it's a place where you can shop around for a lot of different things. And it's typically cheaper, but you know what comes with cheaper? It's not tested. It's new.
I did buy one offer that was it was more like a learning platform.
Got it. Okay.
And yeah, it is very beta, very, very beta.
There you go. Better word. Yep. Beta. A lot of them are in beta for sure.
Yeah. Going to Zapier for a second though.
Yeah.
Even though that there's a charge, one of the things that I find of benefit, and this is how I relate to, I pay for something called Mailbox Power, which automatically will send birthday cards or thank you cards or however to my travel clients.
Got it.
And I pay $49 a month for the pro account for that. But then I think like if I was going to pay a virtual assistant or a physical assistant, I'd probably be paying more than $49 for them to do that every month.
Yep.
So that's kind of how like I justify certain tech. And I feel like that's how you can justify something like Zapier.
Yep.
Is that it helps you do as much as you can on your own to do something on your own forever or before you get to a point where you need to hire somebody on.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And you can do that just, again, analyzing your tech, right? Going through and figuring out, is it cheaper to have somebody do this manually or cheaper to keep paying this $40 a month fee? So absolutely. Smart business decision, friend.
Yes. So how can people learn more about you and stay connected or even hire you if they want an outsider's opinion on what's going on with their own business operations?
Yeah. Awesome. So Website is under construction, but I do, if you're interested in just like, peeking at my services, if you go to my Instagram, which is I am Alicia Lozano, that's ALICIALOZANO. My pricing and services guide is in my link tree. And so I invite people to download that because it really gives them a good overview. But I also invite you that if you want to jump on a call or even just like curious about, is this, the services that I offer, and I'll go into the services that I offer right for me. I have an application that's also in my link tree. And there's no commitment. You can just fill out the application. And I really feel like when people fill out that application, you're going to see for yourself if my service is right for you or not. Like really, like, you're going to reflect. The questions that I ask are really reflection of where you're at and what you might need, because obviously I don't want to have somebody purchase a service and then not be happy with it or not be ready for it or anything like that. So getting into the service specifically, I offer one service. It's a business operations audit where I will go into your business and I will look at what's working. I will look at what might need improvement in 8 different areas of business, in all of your business pillars. I'm going to look at every single thing that is going on and operating, and I'm going to make recommendations. From there, it moves into a prioritized list of those recommendations. So I prioritize them on levels from like 1 to 4 on what I think is most important. And I do that based on our conversation and some of the pre-work that I give you. From there, I take it one step further. And once we agree that, these processes are number 1, these are number 2, et cetera, I actually create an operations implementation action plan. So that's the tangible that you leave with. You leave with an operations action plan, which you can hand over to a virtual assistant, or you can, if you're a DIYer, you can do it yourself, or you can hire me to implement, or a different operator. If you have somebody else that operations manager or somebody that wants to do the implementation, you can have somebody follow this action plan based on the top 3 to 5 kind of processes or actions, operation actions that I feel are going to be important and get you the most ROI, based on, the audit and those types of things. Some bonus with that is tech audit. So I will give you a list of tech. It comes with the tech audit training. So you can actually have your virtual assistant or anyone or you do learn how to do an actual tech audit, an annual tech audit that you can keep forever. And some other bonuses too that are coming, templates and those types of things that are going to be included eventually. But yeah, so that's the business operations audit, and they can find me on Instagram, either downloading the prices and services guide or applying for the business operations audit.
Nice. That is so stinking excited. Can you give us a little peek? What was one of the recommendations you recently made for a client?
This one. Good one. So let me think. My most recent client needed a lot of setup, so I gave her tech recommendations. I'm trying to think, what was the most recent? I'm trying to think of a cool one. I'm like, okay, it took me a while to get there. Okay, so my client, I'm trying to think what her goal was. Her goal was to notify her bookkeeper when payroll was approved. Currently, the way she was doing that was she was emailing her bookkeeper over these like spreadsheets, right? That had said, so and so's approved for it, this to pay this invoice, and this is approved to pay this invoice, et cetera, et cetera. And what we set up was through Zapier. What you can do is she uses monday.com. So I'm trying to think of how we set it up. So anytime she had a task to approve. And any time that she set up or set this task up and approved it, where we automated the communication between her bookkeeper and her team, where she did not have to do any more of the communication. I can't think of the exact zap that we set up, but because her team was sending over some spreadsheets, and she needed to go and look and review the spreadsheets, and then she needed to notify her bookkeeper, and we basically automated that process through Zapier. I can't think of the exact thing that we set up, but that was one recommendation that I made.
Okay. It's my personal chef clients. They have been we're trying to like create some sort of, or in the process of creating a Zap where when I'm able to build something out for them, because we're still doing a lot of auditing, build something out in their CRM Honeybook. Honeybook will send it over to ClickUp. ClickUp will send it over to a Google Sheet so they can have a prep sheet for what meals need to be made. So it's so like, you think you have to do all this like manual work, but that's what all this tech was created for. And that's what I love about Zapier too, is that you just tell, like, once you connect it, it's like the end, done. Sometimes there's a little bit of a hiccup, but for the most part, set it and forget it, knock on wood.
Yep, that is true. And I'm actually looking at the audit because I'm like, I'm gonna say what it was. It was really cool.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing a little bit about business operations and giving us I was going to say a little peek, but I feel like it was a pretty huge peek as to what business operations are and how knowing them and kind of getting a third party's perspective, either with consulting or coaching, can really benefit your business to help move you to the next stage or more stable stage in your travel business or whatever business that you have.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, listeners, for tuning in this week. If you have any questions or want to reach out directly to Alicia, I'll be sure to have her contact information in the show notes. But until next week, you guys have an amazing week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me on The Strategic Travel Entrepreneur. Please subscribe and leave a show rating on your favorite podcast platform. Oh, and don't forget to take a look at the show notes for important information and links. See you next week.